Good evening, everyone, and we're going to call to order the February 3rd, 2014 City Council meeting. Got one announcement up front. Vice Mayor Hopkins is not with us. He is dealing with an ongoing health issue and is not able to be here, but he does hope to be at our next meeting. That'll take us to the first item on our agenda, and that is we have a couple of fifth graders from Richmond Elementary. You guys want to stand up? We've got Jeb Hurt and Justice Redmond that are going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You guys mind if I ask you a couple questions so we can get to learn a little bit about you? Wonderful. Justice, how about we start with you? Tell us what grade you're in and who your teacher is and what you like, some things you like to do. What's your favorite thing in school?
I like science.
Okay.
And my teacher is Mr. Justice.
Mr. Justice.
And I'm in...
Is that an uncle or your dad, or who is it?
My dad and my mom. I'm Snapper Redmond and Jeremy Redmond.
Wonderful. Okay. And then what are some other things you like to do?
I like to play on the computer. I like to play outside with my pets and my friends.
Wonderful. That's a lot of fun. Great. Jeb, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Wonderful. So you're in fifth grade also at Richmond?
Yes, sir.
And who's your teacher?
Miss Holdeman.
I'm sorry?
Mrs. Holdeman.
Miss Holdman, wonderful. And what's your favorite subject?
Math.
Math, okay. The last several times we've had students that have liked math, and that's been good. That's impressive stuff. What are some things you like to do?
I like to play baseball. I like video games. I like to play outside.
Okay, so all sorts of just unique things for boys, right? I have a son that's in 8th grade, and he could have said the exact same thing. So that's wonderful. Will you introduce your family that's here with you?
Azure Hurt, my mom. Addie Hurt, my sister. Steve Hurt, my dad.
Wonderful. Well, we appreciate you guys being here, and moms, dads, thank you for getting them here and letting them do this and be a part of our city council meeting. You guys did a great job. Hey, I'm going to run down. We've got a little something for you. I'm going to let you do first. White chocolate. No chocolate. White chocolate. Sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, that's going to take us down to the consent docket, and we have two items on the consent docket this evening, item A and B. Do any of the counselors wish to remove items A or B?
Not at this time, Mayor.
Is there a motion on the consent docket?
I would move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. And that is approved 4-0. That'll take us down to one public hearing this evening. Public hearing for a request from Midnight Express Transit for Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity. Mr. Dorman, do we have good notice on this?
Yes, sir, we do.
Wonderful. Mr. Galloway, is this yours?
Yes.
Okay.
No, we do have received an application for it's a taxi cab license, a public conveyance of necessity. It's not a taxi cab, it's to run buses. Midnight Express Transit. Their address is the same. They will make transportation scheduled runs for special events at the Meditations on Country Club Road, affiliated with that business. They have submitted all the documentation. It's been reviewed by legal. I reviewed it. Everything they've submitted is in compliance with our ordinance, and I would recommend approval of their licensure or their permit to operate in the city.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions of staff?
Not this time, sir.
Okay, well, we're going to open up the public hearing, and we have no requests to speak in favor or against the public hearing, so we will also close the public hearing. Is there a
Recommendation is
from
for
staff?
approval.
Recommendation for approval. Okay, any questions of staff on this recommendation to approve?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor. I'd move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve or accept staff's recommendation. And that is approved 4-0, and that'll take us down to general orders. And the first under general orders is parking study. Mr. McClenny.
John McClenny, External Services Director. Last year, we completed a parking study from Carl Walker, the consultant that we hired to study the parking areas in the downtown bid, the campus periphery, and the Westwood neighborhood. Those were the 3 study areas. We're going to be coming forward with some recommendations from the steering committee on some ordinance changes over the next few weeks, and so before we do that, I'll give you a overview, kind of go back over what we did in the parking study briefly, and then kind of how the steering committee has tackled this task of reviewing and implementation. The data was gathered by the consultant in the fall of 2012 in the study areas. They held meetings with all the impacted businesses and other stakeholders, and that would include OSU, the Westwood neighborhood, the downtown bid, the Washington Street and Campus Corner merchants, and the Greek neighborhood. The steering committee was developed from those groups, so all of the members of the steering committee came from those various groups. They also held 2 public meetings, which were very well attended. I believe both were pretty much a full house when we had those meetings. The final report was presented to the council in March of last year, and the steering committee has been working on the 2 pieces of that final report, which were short-term action steps and long-term action steps. We've tackled the short-term action steps first, and the review strategy has basically been to look at everything with 3 questions in mind. One, is this right for Stillwater at all? Because we hired a consultant, but they can't possibly know Stillwater as well as the members of the steering committee do, and so we wanted to review everything with that question in mind. The second question would be, okay, if it is right for Stillwater, is it right for Stillwater but with modifications? And so we looked at things that way, and we made some changes in some of the recommendations based on that question. And then some of the things were right for Stillwater as is, so we just kind of left them alone, and we're gonna move forward with those recommendations as they were proposed by the consultant. The other part of the overall strategy is we're going to take an incremental approach. We want to get a few things on the books and try them out and see how things go and see what unexpected impacts there are before we make any other changes. So some of the things that will be coming forward in the next few weeks are a revision to the Land Development Code to bring our parking standards in terms of how many spaces required for various types of development in line with the standards that are recommended in the parking study. A revision of the improper parking ordinance, which will do things such as correct the fact that people are legally allowed to park in a bike lane right now if there's no parking sign. Also correct a situation with our buses where they're not able to park in certain areas that they need to park, the OSU buses. The next thing that we'll bring forward is a revision to the fines and the time parking ordinance. We have a procedure that we're going to recommend for addressing parking issues in neighborhoods, where a neighborhood would be able to propose addressing a parking issue that they're having, such as Westwood did, but it has certain parameters in place, such as a certain percentage of the neighbors have to be in favor of it, public meetings are required, and things like that. So it'll involve a process that would be set by ordinance to bring these things forward. The other ways that the steering committee decided this could be proposed is if the council sees a problem they want to resolve, it can be done without it coming from the neighborhood. And then the steering committee could also recommend some changes to the council based on things that we're observing as we go through the parking study. And then the last thing that we're going to address in the short-term recommendations is take a look at developing a Greek neighborhood master plan. And this would address parking issues as part of that plan in the Greek neighborhood, because the Greek neighborhood, from our observations and review of the study, is putting pressure on all the neighborhoods around it because of a lack of parking in the Greek neighborhood itself. So that's it. That's an overview of what's going to be coming forward in the next few weeks, and I will try to answer any questions. There'll be a lot more specific details when we bring these items forward.
Questions?
Not at this time, Mayor.
Those specifics that you kind of just walked through real quickly there, do those all fall under the short-term strategies?
Yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. Looking forward to it.
Okay.
And by the way, thank the steering committee for all their work from us, because I know they've been working hard, and this has been a well over a year-long project, and we've got more time in it.
They have.
So.
We've had lots of meetings and been very good attendants, so they've done
About how many people are serving on that?
10.
10-ish?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
I can't name them all off the top of my head.
I think it's, you know, even though it's very specific, but it's what I would consider an ad hoc committee. It's a steering committee. But I think it's kind of living proof that when you have a specific task and you put together a committee for that task, they can really get into the task and perform very, very well. Sometimes when we've created more generic, broader boards, they sometimes aren't as effective. So I think this is, we've talked in the past about using more ad hoc committees with special tasks, and I think that works very, very well. And I think it's a tremendous example of that, and they're doing a fantastic service.
It does work really well because the people on the steering committee have specific interests in every piece of this, so they're very in tune with working on this and making it work for the community and for the areas that they represent.
When you come back with some of these, I remember from the presentation a year ago, but a refresher on this point would, I think, go a long way. That the report came back with, it was talking about a triangle, about the, you know, demand and convenience and cost, and how do you balance all that out? Could you give us a refresher of that the next time you're bringing something? Because I think that's an important element.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's a good concept, Mr. Mayor. I hadn't thought about that.
Well, I didn't come up with it. It came from them.
Was it cost, demand, convenience?
I don't remember. That's why I ask. Okay, next on our general orders is quarterly financials. Oh, Ms. Lamb, hello.
CFO.
Marcy Lamb, CFO. I'm pleased to report at the end of the second quarter, which is our mid-year in the fiscal year, we have the same trend in that our revenues are running above our target and our expenditures are running below target. Highlights in the general fund are the sales tax. Overall, the total revenues for the general fund are 53.89% above our mid-year target. The sales tax revenues at quarter end were 56.14 of the annual projection, and at the time this report was prepared, we had another month of revenue, and that reflected that sales tax revenues are 11.53 over the budget for this time. Use tax is 69.54 of the original budget, and once again, just a reminder that this is the first year that the use tax is all going to the city's general fund. We do have in our other revenues an anomaly. We're already over our original yearly projection by 10.94. Some of the things that go into our other revenues are our purchasing card rebate from our purchasing card program, eBay sales of surplus equipment, water sales for oil operations, and this particular quarter we had forfeitures from the city's retirement plan from employees that have terminated and were not vested, and that money comes back to the city. There is a little bit of ambulance revenue that's still coming in. Those represent claims that were in litigation or being refiled with Medicare, that type of thing. So they're still, I've had some questions in the last month about why we're still reporting ambulance revenue, and those are just some old claims prior to our privatization. Total expenditures for the general fund, including transfers out, are 39.96 of the original projection, so well under the 50% mark that we'd expect at this time of year. There's really nothing in those numbers that's out of whack. Everything's within a quarterly target or reflects seasonal activity. In the other city funds, the highlight in the other funds would be the revenues for the CVB. They're 26.57 over the quarterly target. And trying to investigate what brings about that increase, found out that there are fewer rooms out of service over this time last year, and that there were increased rates for some of the hotels, and then some of the premier events related to OSU athletics, such as ESPN Game Day and Homecoming, and some of the other events, they were requiring a 2-night stay at several of the hotels. They're also doing recruitment of new events and advertising to a broader market. In the Stillwater Utilities Authority, the revenues, operating revenues for mid-year are 6.41 of the original projection, and water and electric revenues are contributing greatly to that. The customer service fees have come down a little bit as far as we were seeing a big increase in those, with a lot of customers having difficulty paying. That seems to have leveled off. Those are only 3.97% above the quarterly target, which we kind of see as good news there. Miscellaneous revenue estimates. We've, when we presented the budget to the council for adoption, we showed the capacity payments that were coming from GRDA. We netted those against the revenues, and so we've basically changed that. We've got a line item for the revenues coming in, and then we've, or I say that, we netted it against purchase power. So now we have a revenue account and the expenditure account. So we did make a revision in this last quarter to reflect that, and that's just more for tracking purposes, so that, you know, we don't have to constantly look up and see what was the capacity payment from GRDA. We have a line item account for that now. Revenue activity for the Stillwater Economic Development Authority. Most of the activity in CETA in the past has been for the Business Improvement District. Just reminding you all that we now have our Economic Development division is also operating out of CETA. Revenues for the first quarter and second quarter were basically related to the bid for their car show, bid payments, and then their parking revenue that's allocated to the bid. We did a budget amendment in this last quarter that the trustees approved to allocate funds to transfer in for the branding campaign, and that's reflected in this report. Other than that, all of their expenditures are within the quarterly targets, and that concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
Not at this time, man.
Thank you very much. That'll take us down. Boy, howdy, look at this quick meeting. Mr. Dorman, you got anything?
Nothing to report tonight, sir.
Okay, Mr. Galloway.
Yeah, I've got a couple items I'd like to point out. Just briefly, I learned today that our Community Development Services Director, Paula Dennison, is going to be serving as the president of the Oklahoma chapter of the American Planners Association. So they are lucky to have you as at their helm, and so good luck with that, Paula. I want to point, mostly we're starting budget, what we're calling Budget Week. We're taking a different approach to the budget this year than we've taken for a long time. It seems like so often we spend a lot of time, staff, working on a draft budget. We meet with council and we kind of come up with a draft, and we start talking about it publicly. And at that point, I think the public feels like they're more in a position to just ask questions about what we've put in the budget. And I think the key part that we're missing is that opportunity for the public to have early opportunity to say, here's what we'd like to see the city doing next year. And so we can at least have some ideas of what the public's expectations are from the city, what they'd like to see the city do. Now, it's not a promise we'll do everything that the public says, but we want to make sure that the public has a chance to say, here's what we'd like to see you consider, council, staff, in the budget. So we're starting, I'm calling it Budget Week. We've got a lot of things going on. You may have noticed in Sunday's paper there was a form, and it will be in next Sunday's paper as well, in the news press, where people can take the form and write in suggestions you have, send it to City Hall. We'd be glad to take it that way. You can participate on Facebook or Twitter accounts, on our website. So there's a lot of ways to give us your input. Call us if nothing else. Send us a letter, whatever. If it's not any way that you can get the word to us. Friday, this Friday at 12:30, we're going to have another Twitter town hall. We'll be on TV live. There'll be a panel here. You can either tweet via Twitter your questions, or we'll have some other formats to get your questions in, so we can recognize suggestions. If you do have questions, we'll try to answer those as well. And then next Monday night, we'll culminate this week of input with another budget fair. Only again, it's much like the budget fair we had last July to share with the public an opportunity to ask about the budget. This is the reverse budget fair. This is an opportunity for the public to tell council and staff what they would like to see in the budget. So we're going to be at the community center next Monday evening or afternoon from 4 to 6. As many of the council members who can get it in your schedule to be there, and we'll have staff, department heads. It'll be set up much like last July's budget fair if you were there. And we certainly want people to come and say, try to get these ideas in the budget, and we'll see what we can do. And then later in the spring, as we develop a draft budget, then you'll have an opportunity to see what we put together and ask them for questions before we approve it. So want to make it much more interactive with the public than it's been.
I think it'll be good. I'm actually kind of excited. This will be our second Twitter town hall, and I think it's at noon Friday for the Twitter town hall, so to be able to log in or come in or watch on TV. So, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to all these different methods. Like Mr. Galloway said, we have used just about every possible communication method you can come up with to try and get information from the citizens of Stillwater. Modern methods, traditional methods, phone. We have a budget hotline that you can call in, use the phone, write a letter, come in person. So we're using every method possible to try and get information so we can put together the budget that reflects the needs and the wants of Stillwater.
That's all I have.
Wonderful. Thank you. Councilors, do you guys have anything?
Watch out for the snow coming in.
We do have snow coming in, no doubt about it. Okay, so let's be paying attention on the snow. Let's be safe. Assuming we don't get snowed out, Councilor Noble has radio tomorrow, 8:15 on KSPI AM.
Again, I will not get snowed out.
So that will be taken care of. And then Wednesday morning on the morning edition, Linda Reynolds, our library director, will be joining me on the morning edition at 7 o'clock on TV 31. So, a lot of good information going around. Hey, anything for any upcoming meetings?
Not at this time, sir.
No? Okay. That'll take us down to appointment. We do have 3 boards that have terms. Members' terms are up, and on Airport Authority, I would nominate Mark Tower and Fred Schultz to be reappointed.
Second.
That is approved 4-0. On Board of Adjustment, I would nominate Steve James and Ron Walker, also both for reappointment.
I'll second that one as well.
And that's also approved 4-0. And our last board is Stillwater Public Housing Authority, and I would nominate Ruby Manning and Roger Ghost, both for reappointment.
Was that a second? Or?
That's a second.
Okay, and that is approved 3-1.
Really hurt.
Okay. With nothing further on the agenda, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn.
I didn't have to sneeze on that one.
As approved 4-0, we are adjourned.
You're gonna have a seated meeting?
Oh, there's a CETA meeting, I forgot.
I thought there was canceled.
That was SUA.
SUA was canceled.
Yeah, I'll share it.
I was thinking SUA also. Okay, we're gonna call our CETA meeting to order, so I don't have to look it up. Let me see that agenda. Okay, we have on for CETA again, our Stillwater Economic Development Authority consent docket, approval of minutes from December 16th.
Move approval.
Second.
That is approved 4-0. That'll take us down to general orders, branding update.
Just briefly, we've contracted with a firm out of Franklin, Tennessee, Chandler Thinks. After review of many proposals, it's taken a long time, but we are started. Lisa Nevercall from the Chamber, several staff people, Sherry and Fletcher and Angela McLaughlin and Christy Morrison are all helping me and helping the consultant. We're sending them tons of information, different plans and programs from the city, the CVB, the Chamber, as much background about the community so their branding team can learn about the city before they come. They're going to be here for 3 days in February to kick this off, February 19th through 21st. It's going to be a pretty intensive time. They will have a team of 3 people. They're going to be doing all kinds of interviews. They're going to, and we're helping to organize those groups. They're going to meet with at least 4 special groups, including some from the university, some from the cultural community, some from the professional community. And they're also going to have a lot of one-on-one interviews. I think they're going to conduct 33 one-on-one interviews to discuss Stillwater. I'm sure the council will be invited to those individually, and we'll be asking leaders throughout the community for those one-on-one interviews. They're also going to spend a day, what you might call kind of a mystery shopper kind of thing. All 3 of their members will circulate throughout our community in shopping areas, wherever they want to go in the community, and just do kind of cold call, meet people individually and say, hey, we want to ask you what you think about Stillwater and living here. So that's a part of the process of gathering all the perspectives that we have in Stillwater about Stillwater. And we're pretty excited about it. I think it will help us get a more cohesive feel of what we collectively think about Stillwater. So we're excited about that. So it's off and running, and you're going to hear more about it soon.
Wonderful. Any questions, Mr. Galloway, on branding?
Not at this time, sir.
Okay. All right. Take us down to item B, a sales tax rebate for a business locating at 712 South Main Street.
Yeah, we both, the next 2 items we continue, the bid district, the downtown continues to grow as we had hoped it would in the bid program. When the bid district was formed, we also, the city, created some business incentive programs to help incentivize people to invest and start new sales tax generating businesses downtown. Fortunately, over the last few months, we've had 2 entrepreneurs looking at opening vacant stores downtown and putting some new businesses in. I think are both going to be exciting. This particular one on the first agenda at 712 South Main, there are 2 ladies. I believe it's a mother and daughter-in-law. One owns a women's fashion shop in Mangum, and one owns one in Enid, both being very, very successful. They have joined and created a new LLC, and their first corporate store in their venture is going to be opening here in Stillwater. They see that Stillwater is a good market. They like the downtown. I've looked at their business plan, interviewed them. They meet all the qualifications of our tax rebate program, and I'm recommending the council approve this tax rebate program as an incentive. Equivalent of 1% sales tax that CETA has will be rebated after the new income is generated for them for a period of not to exceed 5 years or $30,000. Based on their sales
Up to 30,000.
projection, that they'll probably receive that rebate cap earlier. And it's a good business plan, and I feel very good about it and recommend approval of that agreement.
Is this the only incentive?
Yes. Well, they will be eligible if they have any, like, we do allow new sales tax generators to have some fee waivers if they have like a utility connection fee, or if they're going to do any minor remodeling, we give them some consideration of waivers if it's a new business on building fees. We're also talking with a couple of other businesses. I may bring some more of these to you as well, but it's things are happening in town. By the way, the name of this business is Pearl Junkie. They will market, as I understand, ladies' fashions from young women to older women, all everything in between. And their business model is offering very current fashions at affordable prices, and so that's what they capitalize.
Thank you.
The structure of this agreement mirrors our the agreements we've entered into.
We have set guidelines, and this mirrors those exactly. No verification. This is or deviation. This is the exact type of standard form that we use.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
Okay, so you're looking for approval, or you're looking
For approval
action
of
on item B?
The award of the tax rebate agreement with Pearl Junkie at 712 South Main.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second to approve the tax rebate agreement for business at 712 South Main Street. And that is approved 4-0. That'll take us down to our third item, sales tax agreement for business located at 905 South Main Street.
Again, this is an empty property that's going to be occupied with a new retail business. This one is, the applicant has met all the criteria. It's a kind of a startup entrepreneur. It's their first venture. Again, we're not putting any money up front. Our rebates are only based on how well they do. This is a little less aggressive business plan for a startup, but based on looking at their business plan, looking at all of the company assets, I think it's very reasonable to think that they will qualify for up to a $15,000 rebate. And again, this is no guarantee that it'll get 15. If they only generate enough sales tax to get $100, that's all they'll get. That's the cap that they would reach during the time of this. This is the name of this business is Whisper Intimate Apparel, and this will be ladies' intimate apparel. So again, it's another specialty shop in our downtown, which we think will meet the kind of goals and objectives of the type of shopping and entertainment district we're developing, and so I would recommend approval of this agreement as well.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the sales tax rebate agreement for the business at 905 South Main Street. And that is also approved 4-0. Are all the items on the agenda? Is there a motion to adjourn CETA?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn CETA.
Natalie, never.
Well,
That's
hold on,
bad.
Mr. Mayor,
Approved
there's
4-0.
one more agenda.
Here we are adjourned.
That's all.
I was waiting on Mr. Galloway to pull one more out.